still there? All right. So anyway, I'm going to make an announcement here for guaranteed rate mortgage. You don't want to miss this. If you're looking to buy your first home, there's going to be down payment assistance and the first-time home buyer education, and they'll provide down payment assistance and credit score fixing. And it's going to be Saturday, February 17th, 2024, from 2 to 4:30 p.m. And to RSVP, you just need to email 2-17homebuyered.eventbrite.com. And it's going to be at the Boston Public Library, 1350 Blue Hill Ave in Mattapan. So it's probably the Mattapan branch. And Cora Holbrook and Samuel Reimer are going to be the ones facilitating this event. So again, first time homebuyer seminar, and there's going to be an emphasis on down payment assistance and credit score fixing. So you guys definitely don't want to miss this if you're looking to be a homeowner here in Massachusetts. Take all the assistance you can get, and education is the key. And so getting the knowledge and understanding how the home buying process works is definitely the first step. And it helps you, again, instead of just doing internet research and trying to do on your own, you have a set of professionals that are there to kind of walk you through the process. And it's highly recommended that if, again, you get the assistance with the down payment and the credit score fixing. So it's like a one-stop shop when it comes to your home buyer education. Again, so it's Saturday, February 17th, 2024, from 2 to 4, and it's going to be at the Boston Public Library. But in order to attend, you need to RSVP at 2-17homebuyers.eventbrite.com. And so, again, we got another hour here at the round table. And any callers available? Hello? Caller, you're on the line.
Hello.
Hello. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And who am I speaking to?
This is Pastor Dan.
Hi, Pastor Dan. How are you? It's Rhodes Pierre here on with you. How are you doing?
Who am I speaking to?
Rhodes Pierre. Right now, Larry and Dr. Bradley have left the building. So we're spending the third hour. So I'm here with you. And we can... And then Jamal's on the line.
They need to turn your mic up.
All right. The mic is up. Okay. I need to get as close as possible. Is this better now? Can you hear me?
This is so much better now.
Oh, I am so sorry. So, yes, I definitely have to get intimate with this microphone. And it's they've been trying to tell me that. And
well, what do you tell a man?
Your voice has reinforced that now. Now, your voice has made it very...
Good.
Exactly. It's the execution is being expedited.
Okay. So what made you decide that you wanted to be on the radio?
I've done it before, and the topic that these gentlemen cover is something that is dear to me, and it's come to my attention that we need to actually get more people aware of things that I thought was common, as they say. Common sense, I thought was common knowledge, apparently is rare, and so we definitely need to keep the awareness and the education and the truth alive. This is definitely one of the reasons that I'd like to be on the air, is to promote. Again, I do support.
Stay in the mic. You got to stay in the mic.
Okay, I do support freedom of speech, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is to help support our First Amendment right, our human rights, our ability to speak for ourselves and advocate for ourselves. So that's one of the reasons. And I went to school, and that was one of my first experiences was with the radio, WXIN at Rhode Island College. Definitely, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed more the promotion aspect of it. Wasn't really into, I enjoyed DJing, but again, because they're on the radio, my experience with DJs were at the party, so you had people reacting to what you're doing. But when you're at the radio station, you're by yourself with just the equipment, so you're playing the music, you're listening to it, but you don't see people reacting to it, getting down. So it was it's a different experience when you do it on the radio compared to doing it live with an audience reacting to what you're doing. So that's why I enjoyed the promotion aspect of it, because I could interact with people.
Well, the talk radio is the theater of truly thinking people.
Thank you.
That part, I've been involved with talk radio ever since. Well, wow, forever. I go back many, 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 many years, and it's finally allowed me to be on the air and to have a broadcast. I always felt that I would be reasonable as a talk show host. I've studied at the feet of all the masters, and you have to decide which way you're going to go and what you're going to be about. There are certain paths to success, and there are certain things that you learn being on the radio, and like you learned a very important thing. When you're DJing at a club or at a party, you have an immediate feedback as to whether you are performing properly or not.
Yes.
But when you're on the radio, you have to rely on longevity, sameness, and articulating your points clearly, and allowing somebody to disagree with you, and not get and not be, you have to be strong. You have to be tough.
Absolutely, and that you're absolutely correct in the sense that, like, as going to school, that you were taught to be neutral in order to accept both points, in order to let an argument develop, and that you have to be able to listen to both sides and allow both sides to develop their points. And
one of the most popular talk shows was America Overnight, and it came on from midnight, usually from midnight to about 4 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I think. And its success was that it gave everybody a level playing field. So they talked about aliens and different philosophies and spirit reading and mind-body control and all of that stuff. And when you're listening to the host, he is treating everybody who has an opinion equal. And when I'm listening to it, I was like, wow, this guy is treating this complete and total moronic hypothesis as if it's E equal MC squared. And I learned a lot from that, because you get a chance to hear people articulate, and reality will the truth will always come out given the right amount of time and given the right forum. So he had a very popular show for years, many, many years.
Until what happened, Pastor Dan? Until he found out mysteriously dead.
Yeah, until he found out he mysteriously dead, and that just fueled, shall we say, that just gave more fuel to the fire as to whether he was really onto something, shall we say. So,
yes, clearly. But you know what? Not for nothing. His name is Art Bell.
Yes, that was Art Bell. Absolutely.
And so, not for nothing, some of the subjects that he covered, as supernatural and spooky as they may seem, is, in my view, no different from the many religious shows that you may listen to, where people are talking about, healings or angels visiting Earth, or talking in tongues, or visions, or the paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster community, to me, has a lot of similarities with the particularly the Christian religious community.
Well, I wish I could argue with you, but you're absolutely right about that. But again, one of the things that I'm coming to realize, maybe I should have gotten here before I became pastor, but one of the things I'm coming to realize is that the modern day Christian wouldn't know Christ if he fell over him, which is a shame, really. It's absolutely a shame. One of the things I liked about Art Bell was just what you said. He allowed everybody to talk, and some of the things that he was talking about are real, no matter how far-fetched. It's amazing, but nobody wants to talk about them because they don't want to be felt like you're stupid or like you're, like you're nuts or them. But guess what? There's nothing wrong with being stupid. There's nothing wrong with being nuts. You can make $1 billion being stupid. So if you're all about the money, you don't have to be intelligent to make money.
So for instance, right, on these type of things, like let's say in the Bible where it speaks about like the Leviathan, right? What if the Leviathan was the Loch Ness monster? It talks about, Esau being red and hairy. What if he was, as Eddie Murphy says, goomy goo goo? What if he was a half Bigfoot? You know what I mean? Yeah. All of these things, obviously, Elijah went up in the wheel and all this type of thing, right? So we got everything from UFOs and all manner of things. So there are a lot of similarities. And so once again, I just think that, particularly on radio, that's often why I try to take the position that I do, which is, you got to hear people's beliefs and try to be respectful and whatnot. But also, too, at the end of the day, logic is king, because we have to have some groundational something.
Well, I think not only logic is king, but I think faith is equally important, actually, if not more important than logic, because logically, a lot of things in my life that I've been able to accomplish, I should not have been able to accomplish. I'm certified in 4 different disciplines. So I could have picked any one of those disciplines and made a reasonable living and a comfortable life. But all of those disciplines pointed me and prepared me to pastor. So, who's to say what the truth is in that situation? There's no logic to how I am where I am. None. But here I am, by faith.
There is something to be said about faith, and then that's one of the common themes with human beings is that we have a need to believe in something, and one of the things that also to be noted is that with all major religions, no matter what, all major religions have the common denominator of love being the theme of the drive. They all have an Adam and Eve story. They all have a Noah of Ark story. They all have a Jesus story. It doesn't matter, but they have a resurrection story, and so there's a common theme with humanity for having or needing faith or needing to believe in something. So
the only difference really in all of the belief structures and the philosophies is they all have that, but they all disagree. Each one of them. You can't, if you are a Muslim, if you're a Christian, if you're a Buddhist, all of their philosophies have one central point that that sets them apart from any of the others. So, yes, in one respect, they can all be used to live a good life if that's all you're interested in. Or if your perception of life ends when you die. If your perception of life goes on after life, that's when, shall we say, the rubber meets the road in terms of religious and faith structures.
Okay, I would definitely agree in that sense that there are some differences, but there's a lot of different commonality. But we do have another caller, Cliff, on the line, and Cliff, you're on the air.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, thank you.
Happy New Year, Brother Cliff. I haven't heard from you for a while. Maybe you just took me down.
I was listening to your conversation, like, just now about the education system. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a passionate person when it comes to education. Now, when I was in school, coming from Honduras, I didn't have any people that spoke Spanish, any teachers that spoke Spanish. And it was hard for me to translate English because all I knew was Spanish, and I still have a difficult time with English sometimes. But, in my household it's Spanish, so it might be one English word and that's it. But the point I'm trying to make is, where are all the teachers at that if these people are coming from other countries like Haiti, Honduras, or whatever they're coming from, why is it that they don't have any teachers that translate in that language? Can somebody explain why?
I can explain it, but you won't like my answer.
I was going to say you got to go to Lawrence.
See, and this is probably as political as I'm going to get in this current age. For now, a country is defined in my mind by three things: borders, language, and culture. Now, given the fact that, first of all, America as a country should not be telling anybody to go back home or go back to where you came from, because the only native people to this land are the quote-unquote Indians. Everybody else is either an invader or a transplant. So that's the first issue. Now, since America is essentially a Western European nation, then the Western European is the culture. Now, we're all talking in English because it's the one language we all know. We may have other languages that you grew up speaking Spanish, or speaking Haitian, or whatever your language you grew up speaking.
Haitian Creole.
Creole, thank you. If you want to speak that language, then you should be where that language is prominent. If you want to be an American, then you have to learn to speak English.
That is not true. That's not necessarily true, because the Hispanic community has band together, and everything, instructions, and if you call any major bank, any corporation, you always have the option of hearing it in Spanish, because Spanish people do this all the time. Whenever they call, they know, do you have anyone that speaks Spanish? Do you have anyone that speaks Spanish? And the corporations, in order to get the business, they will find someone that speaks Spanish in order to deal with the person. And so unless other cultures demand that, and I've spoken to Spanish people, and they said, listen, at the end of the day, I know for a fact that I'm keeping one of my brothers or sisters employed because they had to hire them to translate my language. And they're like, I will not speak. This is a free country, so I will speak my native tongue in this country. And if this is truly a free country, the country will adapt. The market, if there's so many Hispanic people that, yes, like you go to a lot of different places, they will give you the options of different languages. So if English, technically, if this is a free country, English is not the official language. It is the most the language of business that the Constitution's written in. But again, it's not the language where it's by law required that you have to learn. People that say "Make America Great Again" are saying, "Oh, you got to learn English when you come to this country. You got to learn English." So it's like, well, if you're 90 years old, you come here. It's like, what's the point of you learning English? I mean, it's great that you can try to communicate.
All right. So I started my speech by saying it would not be popular, but it is definitely true. You said it was not true. It is definitely true that English is the language of the land. Now, every other language is, as you said, tolerated or even monetized because you have to speak it. However, if English ceases being the language of the land, then I think America ceases being America. It becomes something else. The other issue that we have is, again, borders, language, and culture. Those are the things that define a country. So if you're taking any one of those away, then America ceases to be America and now becomes whatever else it is.
One thing I found interesting, do y'all remember the whole, go back where you came from thing?
Yes.
So go back to Africa, go back to Jamaica, go back to Haiti or whatever, right? Well, I don't necessarily disagree with that, right? But check this out. In
I remember.
In the tradition of American tradition, I think everybody should go back where they come from. But white people should go first.
Well, I think that is exactly what I said when I started this. But the reality of it is, America is an English-speaking country. It is.
Man.
Everything else is an accommodation. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it is what it is. And at what point do you allow, you have a house. I'll just do it this way. We all have a place that we live. We have an apartment. We have whatever property we have. It is ours. It is my apartment. I have the right and the privilege to set what is required in my house. I just do. If you can come into my house and tell me how to act or how to speak or what I'm going to live, it's no longer my house. It's yours. So why is this an issue when you say English should be required? To learn, to understand. Because it's not the fact that it's good that you have somebody that speaks your language. The problem is I don't have anybody that speaks my language, and this literally just happened yesterday. I went to Walgreens. CVS. I went to CVS to find a particular type of bandage, and the person behind the counter did not understand Band-Aid. And to me, that's a problem.
Understood. Yes, I understand what you're saying. But
I can't hear you.
Understood. I understand what you're saying. But were you able to find a Band-Aid? Was you able to get someone else to be able to assist you in order to get that taken care of?
Now, I have to take the initiative to go and speak somebody in their store that now speaks English.
Yes.
And will know what a Band-Aid is. I have no issue with the fact that you speak a different language, but I think if it's in a store, I think you should learn the English pronunciation of everything in that store.
But also, too, look, that could flip, because I've had that same experience with just a young person. If you go in there and ask a young person for, let's say, an old school item, I can't think of what it was at the time, but I asked them for what I thought was common, and the young person had no idea what the heck I was talking about. And he spoke good English.
Yeah.
His experience, hold on, but follow me what I'm saying.
Yes.
His experience just wasn't what mine is. So unless corporations get a magic box where they're instantly able to import every employee with a multi-database of everybody's experience, we're never going to get that. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to have a normal thing that really tries to accommodate everybody. Your situation was not necessarily fair for you and not pleasant, but also, too, nobody should be forced to speak English in order to be able to live and, operate and function for themselves.
More importantly, let me ask you guys this. After your experience, like you said, with the young person and your experience with the person that didn't speak English when you were asking for the Band-Aid, after you were able to resolve the issue, did you go back to that person and show them the item and say, this is what I was talking about? I
do.
You did?
Yeah, and I'm that guy, too.
All right,
I'm that guy too. I will show them because I show them because I'm like, yo.
Next
so just in case anybody ever else asks you, this is where it was.
Exactly.
This is what it is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
but here's my issue.
Well, here's what my point is saying is that you're being a human being. Again, you realize that the person didn't know what you're talking about, and you took the time to go and show them. So next time, it's helping someone else out. So I'm just saying.
Well, at least in my case, I did it in a very crappy way. I did it very, because he told me that the item I was looking for doesn't exist, and the store certainly doesn't carry it, and, whatever. And then when I found it, it was like a, you know what I mean? So
okay.
The way I handle it was not the optimal way, but it achieved the same purpose.
Well, the way you handled it, we would say, was not Christian.
Oh no! I was being Pappy Petty of Pettyville. Yes, I was.
Okay.
All right,
but here's the thing, and this to me is the fault of the management, because I know that when I got hired at a store back in the younger days, I actually worked for Burger King for 2.5 minutes, and they made sure that I understood everything on their menu. That my first,
You worked at Burger King?
He said
I worked at Burger King for 2.5 minutes. Yes, sir.
And I was going to say, and I bet they fired you because you wouldn't let people have it their own way.
No, actually, they did not fire me. They wanted to keep me and move me up. I decided that no, this is I am bound for better. It was a motivating place for me. I don't even put that on my. I don't put Burger King on my resume. Are you kidding me? I worked at the White Hen Pantry for almost 3 years. I don't put that on my resume. When I left there, the boss said, "I hope you use me for a reference." I looked at him and I said, "Are you kidding me? I don't want anybody to know about this. I don't need this." You will never hear anybody calling you asking you about me. That's never going to happen. This was not that important. This does not make or break my life and my career.
Understood.
But anyway, that wasn't at that point. I wasn't being Christian.
You're beneath me. So we do have another caller on the line, and then caller? I'd like to let them get in the conversation as well.
The caller. Brother Cliff's still with us, but I just wanted to weigh in. I appreciate this conversation about nations and borders, and as you talk about faith, and that being something particularly we as believers. And we even talked about different gods and eternity. So what I love about the relationship with Christ and Jesus is that, again, his character, his personality of selflessness, of forgiving people, right? Mm-hmm. And forgiving ourselves, right? The character, the love banner that covers a multitude of faults, right? That kind of mindset gives us the ability to walk in the fruit of the Spirit, the love, the joy, the peace, the long suffering, the gentleness, the goodness, the faithfulness, meekness, and self-control. I love that Jamal was authentic and saying, yeah, I corrected him, but I did it in a way that was not edifying. And so as we talk about, this I call it a kingdom culture, right? Because we talk about this notion of democracy. We talk about this. The point is we're one human race globally.
Yes.
Right?
Mother Earth, right?
And when we understand and we don't have these boundaries, like there's one earth, and God created man in his image and his likeness, and said let them have dominion over the earth.
Exactly.
So once we get to that mindset, it's not a place of dominion that's, I'm better than, but it's about edifying each person and their uniqueness and the diversity and the unity of the kingdom of God. When you have that mindset, you're able to not be upset when you see things, people speaking other languages around you. Rather than, let me learn some of your language, right?
Yes.
I know Komoye, right? Like I can know a little bit of different cultures, little languages to build bridges, as opposed to say, no, you're different than me. My way's right, your way's wrong.
Yeah. No, exactly. Whenever I have the opportunity, when you're traveling or what have you, or when you meet people from different cultures, I try to learn a couple of good, nice words like thank you, hi. But again, most people, they try to learn the nasty words from different languages and everything. But
most people will teach you the nasty words.
I be trying to learn the revolutionary words. I was so happy because coming up with Haitian, all my life, right? And we heard, sac passe and naboule and whatnot, right? But okay, so for instance, why don't you do the honors? Tell people what naboule means.
That means we're burning. We're burning. Literally, we're burning. Yeah, that's what it means.
Burning, baby.
We're burning. Yes, that's what it means. Like when people say, like, what's going on? That's literally, the sac passe is like it's saying what's up. And then our response is always naboule, meaning that we're burning. So that's what it
and not for
means.
nothing, and that has revolutionary roots from obviously chasing the crazy bald head out of them yard.
Yes. So and then that's one of the things that we kind of I never I just knew that was the way we answered. But again, I did not know the whole thing about the fire. I always thought, I just thought it was because they were in a tropical sun and that they were being burnt by the sun all day long. Sakwa said, hey, we're in the sunlight all day long. We're burning. That's what I always thought it meant. Because as a kid, they didn't talk about the Haitian Revolution in my household. It wasn't until much later.
Really?
Yeah, no, because again, they came here. They're like, hey, you're an American. Make sure you get an education, and they were advocates of education. But as far as studying Haitian history, it wasn't until much later in life that as an adult, I got indoctrinated and heard from other people what was going on. It was like, oh my God, how much of a rich history that we have. That and that's part of the education system here in America, that they made you. All you learn about is how America was formed and everything. They don't give you the global picture of hey, this is what was going on in France at the time. This was going on in Haiti at the time, and this is why America is this big, is because of Haiti, and they were able to do the Louisiana Purchase because Napoleon had to sell the rest of Louisiana to pay off for the reparations of the war that he had with Haiti. And then again, because it was the first free black nation, they made them sign up a messed up deal where they now finally, like a few years ago after the earthquake, that's when they had to stop paying reparations for that war. Like, how in the world do you say you're free as a country, and you're sitting there paying your former oppressing country, reparations for you freeing yourself? And so,
and not for nothing too, I think we should all do a movie date where we all watch a movie and then we come back and discuss it. But right now, the new movie of Napoleon.
Okay.
The Napoleon movie is out, played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin.
Yeah, however you say that.
Joaquin.
Yeah, that dude. Okay, now what I found funny about it, of course, because it's super.
Okay, don't do any spoilers, because I'm going to go see it. Don't do any spoilers.
No, it's just super revisionist history, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then, two, what I noticed is the boy couldn't even try to put on a inkling of a French accent. He sounds like he's straight from New Jersey. He didn't even try to hit me with a little wee, a wong, something. You know what I mean? He's talking in the same accent, so it's not that.
Okay.
They depict a lot of images just from the trailer of his time in Africa and whatnot. So it's once again one of these Hollywood romanticized retellings of history.
Yeah.
But from an Asian perspective, I have to touch on that because outside of Waterloo, that was his greatest defeat.
Yeah.
So it has to touch on it, and I would be super interested in seeing that depiction, and then we'd all discuss it at a later date.
Okay.
Yes, I will definitely
We can do that. So the other thing is, here's the problem though. Whether we like it or not, I haven't heard anybody give anything against, other than the language, the culture, borders, language, and culture. Here's the thing. If all these other places were better and offered the same opportunity. I met a lady last night from Yemen, and she's been in this country 6 months, and she's working and she's living, and I said to her, could you accomplish where you are now, right now, 6 months later? Could you be here in your country? She did not want to say this with her head up and shoulders back. Said, no, I don't have the opportunity in Yemen to do what I'm doing here in America. And that's the thing.
That is definitely a point that I hear from a lot of foreigners and a lot of people that come into the.
Somebody has their radio in the background that we're hearing. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. But someone, please.
Can someone lower their radio in the background?
I have nothing in my background, but I'm gonna mute just to check. I don't know if something's weird.
It worked. Whatever. Okay. Nope. Okay. Someone. Hello.
It's gone.
All right. It's gone. No. And then so what I was saying was essentially that as far as the I don't remember where we were as far as like the conversation goes, like as far as like the culture, yes, as far as like the culture aspect of it is like in America, like our culture is you talked about her having the opportunity, and everyone, all the foreigners, people that will come into the country will say that there is no other place like in America where you have the opportunity for economic opportunity, growth, the mobility, the ability to leave from one class to another, if like you could put into work. Yes, that is very true. However, what I'm gonna say about the culture in America is like the culture has been hijacked from the oppressed people, like from hip hop to jazz to rock, the blues. We are the curator, the originators of American culture, and what they do is take what we generate and then they repackage it.
Wow. Let me push back on that just a little bit.
Okay.
First of all, I would say America doesn't even have a culture, right? When you talk about culture in terms of things that are produced, the arts. And so, I mean, like, American culture, strict American culture, which obviously means white American culture, is like, what are you talking about? Hot dogs. We're talking about what, like Elvis. We're talking about like the Ford automobile or whatever. 1950s Leave It to Beaver. That would be American culture, quote unquote. Right? The things that you just described about bringing in, although they have contributed and now been absorbed into aspects of now what has become American, quote unquote, pop culture, right? Really, what we brought to the table was diasporic culture. So that even the new things that we created, like you noted, whether it's jazz, whether it's reggae, whether it's the blues or whatever, these already came from our cultural impressions that we already had on us. You dig? This is why everything goes back to like the really African traditional stuff, and why, although what they say, you could take the kid out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the people.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same thing. Although we were removed from Africa, Africa was really never totally removed from us.
It's part of our DNA.
Right, and despite their best efforts,
yeah,
right, and it worked on some. It worked on some to a certain degree where the colonization of the brain and the spirit happened. But enough of it eked through that even black men with terms on their head was able to come up with them dances that they was doing and come up with scat and all this. So even while they were trapped inside of a European overall dynamic, the African eked through, and this is what gave us the jazz, the blues, the reggae,
the hip hop. Yes, and then we do have another caller on the line, and then we're experiencing technical difficulties with the phone line, so we're hearing a lot of feedback. So we're gonna try to get the other caller on. Caller, please identify yourself, and you're on the air.
Good morning. My name is Echo, and
Good
I
morning.
have to push back on. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I had to push back with Jamal on what he said about quote-unquote culture, because America itself has different cultures within the country. But I'll take New England for example. Well, here in New England, a lot of, let's say you're black or white or brown, takes a lot of pride in the education being a little bit perfect than everybody else in the rest of the country. You go down south, they're more polite, respectable, they use their manners. All over the South, you go to the Midwest, it's more, I don't know. I never been to the Midwest, so I can't vouch for that. Say go with the Southwest and the West Coast. They have every culture in this country, every state or every region in this country has a different type of version of what they call quote unquote culture. So that's my pushback on Jamal. Huh?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let me just give you this, brother, and I'm glad to hear from you. I always love when you call, and one day I hope to meet you actually in the flesh. But now the difference there, and I learned this from one of my mentors, Senator Bill Owens, who is now passed on, right? So there's culture, right? But also what he used to talk about is the ways and mores and morals of the people, and that's more what you're talking about in terms of regional differences about what people may value or hold dear to them, or like little local traditions and whatnot. But overall culture is like something that if the world blows up and the aliens come here 1,000 years from now, what are they going to find, right? And so it's the things that are created. So, for instance, when I use the example of the Ford car, whether you're up north, down south, out west, or whatever, there's a Ford car. There's this type of vehicle. Everybody's eating a hamburger. You might put different things on the top of it or whatever, but like those things count less with the dance, the whatever. Like rock and roll, even though we created it, has been associated with American culture, hamburgers, all this type of thing. If you go to another country, what do they think of Americans? That's more the culture thing. What you're talking about is the ways and mores of the various regional, that could be associated if we were in another place. That would be like a tribal thing, or whatever. Even in Africa, you have several different tribes that live in the same place. Are both proud of, let's say, being Nigerian or Ghanaian or whatever, but these different tribes have different customs, different ways of dress, even in many cases different languages, so on and so forth.
I remember a while back there was a book, I thought it was called The Seven States of the United States, or the seven states, or the seven regions of the United States, but because New England is a specific region, California, the South, and they had certain parts of the Midwest that were kind of together and everything like that. I just can't remember the title of the book, but bottom line is it talked about that there was 7 sections of the United States, and it, because of cultural differences.
I have driven across this country probably 7 to 8 times. Not flew, but actually drove from Boston to California, and many different places in between. I lived on the road for essentially 2 months, about a month, just driving from the West Coast to the East Coast, and just spending time talking to people and learning cultures and working different places to get gas money and just all sorts of stuff. And I learned something when you're on that type of thing. You learn something about yourself, of course, but also about America. Everybody is, when they first meet you, people are looking to find something about you that they can relate to. If nobody can ever relate to you, then there's something wrong, I think, with you. But other people would say it's them. But no, there's something wrong with you, because we all want to be relatable on some level to somebody. And when I talk about American culture is a culture of everything that has happened, everything that is going to happen, that makes us say that we live in America. When I went to Mexico, when I went into the Mexican country, it was very clear to me that if I didn't learn Spanish, real quick, I was not going to survive. I was going to be a victim. I was going to be, basically a victim. And also, when I was in Canada, I learned that, yes, everybody in Canada speaks English because that's where the money is. But if you want to be truly Canadian, you better speak French.
Well, so that's a region of Quebec. That's the only region where French is actually spoken officially. All the other regions, like BC, Vancouver, British Columbia, Newfoundland, that English is the official language. Because it's Quebec is the only. I've spent time in Quebec, but I also spent a lot of time in Montreal. And Montreal is in Quebec.
One of my life is Caravana in Toronto, and if anybody ever has the chance to go to Carnival in Canada, you should, because it is a wonderful time.
The Jazz Festival, Just for Laughs, the comedy festival there.
And if you find a piece of trash, on the ground in Toronto, I'll give you $10 if you show me a picture.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, in Montreal, even in Montreal, in Quebec, any of those places, you're absolutely right. And if you get caught littering up there, anybody will tell you, no. And the first words out of their mouth is, this is not America. This is not America. You don't litter here. Go back home. Go back to America if you want to litter.
Yes.
The only thing I didn't like about Canada was those doggone French fries with the gravy on it.
The pouton.
Yeah, you and me both.
But
that's
anyway,
I couldn't get with that either.
We got Cliff on the line.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Pastor Dan, let me ask you a question.
And yes, of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that if other countries were better, people will stay in their countries, and
let me be clear.
America.
let me be clear so we can get it right. If other countries offered the same opportunity, offered the same financial wealth, offered the same freedom as America, then there would be no reason to be in America. We are different because we value the individual, the freedom, and the motivation and the effort of the individual over everything else.
And colonialism, sir.
And what it's called is not relevant. What it produces is.
No, I'm saying any of those countries that are not producing in the way that America is due to the global impact of world colonization,
Yes,
imperialism, racism, white supremacy, war,
and all that. I will agree, because they've taken over the natural resources of those regions and claimed it as their own through corporations and through, again, whatever means that they've chosen to make it legal. Right. But bottom line is, it's like, no. Why is it that the banana, like you get
we could not have this conversation. We couldn't have this conversation in some parts of the world. We would all be lined up and shot for being dissident.
Understood, but his point is saying that although we're living here and we're enjoying the freedom, at what cost is it costing our global brothers and sisters elsewhere? You know, exactly. In order for us to enjoy the freedom.
But again, when you start here's the problem: America is the only country that is founded on the.
It's a corporation.
Founded on the I'm sorry. Let me finish my thought, please. America is the only country that is founded on the premise that has God as a center point. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator. No other country started with that premise.
Okay, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that part. But what I will say is that every dictator and regime that you're pointing to, where you're talking about, like, you know, if you said this, you'd be lined up and shot. Every dictator, every regime, all of that authoritarian government has been trained, funded, bought, and paid for by either the United States government, England, one of the European forces, and or Israel. So we have to look at all the conflicts that have happened that have resulted. Let's take Africa, for example. There's some despicable people in Africa doing some despicable things.
Yeah.
But they are doing so because their country was destabilized by American and European interests. They were put into place to do the bidding of whatever these things are, CIA, CFR, Trilateral Committee, whatever it is, right? And then now they are, enacting this wrath, but it is completely and totally, so like, they don't have African guns. They have United States guns. They got Russian guns, and all this type of thing. So we have to look at it. All the places in South America that have been ravaged by the quote-unquote war on drugs. And the war on drugs is real. It's the war of who's going to get it first and who's going to get the most money. That's the war.
No, that is definitely the war. It's a war on profits.
Exactly. And I mean, and let's look at Haiti, too.
Yeah.
Haiti would be one of the most richest places in the Western Hemisphere.
If just on the natural resources. And
exactly. And if not, remember when Pat Robertson said it's because y'all made a deal with the devil. Right? Remember that? No, it's because you declined the deal with the devil.
Yes.
Okay? And then I had the nerve to have a revolution and everything, and Haiti's been punished ever since, and as you were talking about before, forced to pay reparations and whatnot, underdeveloped and whatnot, but Haiti, we already know, right across the fence is the Dominican Republic, which is a pimper's paradise. Come on now.
Yes. No, and the decisions that were made back in the day, that's why Haiti obviously is in the condition that it's in today. But there were certain compromises that weren't made, and therefore, roads weren't built, for a 10-year deal for Ford to have exclusive rights to sell their car. They would have had the same kind of roads that DR had, but Papa Doc didn't do that. And then
hey, look, Sweet Mickey didn't do it either.
No, and here's the crazy thing is, like, again, the power vacuum that's there in Haiti the president was shot and killed in his bedroom in the palace, in the presidential palace, and they still haven't. The 6 people, the 6 mercenaries from Colombia, you know, they still haven't convicted him.
Wow.
You know, so there's something to be said about the fact that corporations, the CIA, the idea of the banana republic is follow the money, follow the corporations, and follow the money, and then you'll see why things are the way that they are. You know. I mean, in history, I remember us being told the reason why we had prohibition in this country was because the alcoholic behavior of the family man had led to the point where the church wanted to get involved and say, hey, like, we have to stop these abusive husbands from beating their wives. And that's how they got, basically they were funded by the gas and oil companies, because at that time Henry Ford, when he had made the Model T, had said all you needed to do was grow corn or wheat and distill it, because everyone back then could distill corn and wheat and make ethanol, make alcohol, and that would be their gasoline. It would be a free green gasoline that you can put in your car and run. But the oil companies and gas companies got together and made the campaign to make alcohol illegal. They just didn't want distilleries to be readily available so people could make their own gas. So they made, they quote unquote said we were going after alcohol. All they wanted to do was to take the possibility of people to make their own gasoline. And so if you really follow history, as far as like, just follow the money, and you'll see how corporations have been controlling things. The reason why we have Mother's Day in this country is because Hallmark wanted to sell more cards during the summer, because they have Christmas, they have Easter, but they were like, oh, how can we make more money? So you had hey, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Children's Day, and they create holidays in order to, and most legislation in this country is generated by corporations. It's not generated by individuals. So when America is one of the biggest it's the biggest corporation in the world, and one of the biggest exports are weapons, and I think our 3rd biggest export is actually music. And the funny thing is, more millionaires are made off black music than black people who make the music are millionaires.
Amen.
Record companies
all
own rights to our black music. They're making millions, but yet the original artists and the artists that are coming up aren't millionaires compared to the people that have like publishing and distributing the music and stuff. So there's a lot to understand as far as like the economic warfare. There's psychological warfare, but there's an economic warfare that again is used to
I get
keep us
all
in
of
this
that, but I think we're forgetting, if we go back to all the great societies, and America is not, I don't even think, if you study your Bible, I don't even think America's going to be around much longer. I'm just hoping that it doesn't, I'm hoping that doesn't manifest itself in my lifetime. But I don't believe that America is going to be around much longer, because I don't see America in the end time. If you study eschatology, there isn't a country that one could specifically say was America.
No,
but that's a discussion for other people.
But again, we're not addressing the 2 original sins of this country: the genocide
I understand that,
and the slavery.
Let me make my point. My point is that when America was founded, it was founded on principles that had never been before, that had never been articulated before. Now, whether America has lived up to those principles is a discussion for another day, but it's safe to say that we haven't. But because America was...
You're asserting that all the people, like, because you're saying this is a nation created under God, and that's your main point there. But you're asserting to know what those men believed in their heart. One thing that I always used to find funny when I first became conscious, when I was just a teenager, but looked on the dollar bill and it said, in God we trust. Right?
Yes.
Right. But they never told you which God. So when people say God, I don't know what God you worship. Yeah. So that I do know that the white men who did found this country, when they were talking about God, that is clearly not the same God I believe in.
Amen.
And what I know about some of their other endeavors, what I do believe is that we're really dealing with some people who were really more under the influence of a Luciferian cult than they were God. So, I mean, we have to be very careful. We're talking about America was built on God based on the men who, quote unquote, created it. Because
these same men believed in slavery.
Those were not men of God,
Yeah.
if that's your assertion.
Now, my assertion is that when you put God in it, there is a expectation, and like you said, you don't know what God you're talking about in that whole bit, but you cannot deny the fact that individual freedom is celebrated more in America than any other part of the world.
And we're not